Hi, this is Mike.
And I'm Josh.
And this is NFGeeks.
Just kidding.
Yeah, that's right. It's actually NFGeeks. And so, Josh, as you know, NFGeeks was carpet bombed this week by Podlair.
Correct. We were.
Yes, totally carpet bombed. Everybody who's ever been on NFGeeks, and of course me too, received a Podlair interpretation of us through their system. And it was so much that I think it warranted a response, and you wanted to respond to your video and to the whole thing.
Right.
So let's talk about this. Go ahead. I'll let you start, and then I'll sort of chime in.
Well, first of all, I'd like to just say that this is YouTube, so it is a public forum, and I personally welcome criticisms and opinions. But with that being said, I do believe that these Podlair affiliates are a little out of the norm a little bit. Personally, I felt just really angry because I just thought who are these people and what right do they have to just come and just comment and say that I'm some things, and it would have been something if their comments were kind of fact based. A little, I would have took it with a grain of salt and said it's okay, or if they were even true. But some of the things he said about me, I guess could be true, but a lot of the things he said weren't even really like he said that I was more, I believe he said I was more subjective than objective, and
and what exactly does that mean? We got one of the things we have to talk about is that there's a lot of terminology flowing around here.
And about what? There's some things that I'm subjective about, and there's some things I'm objective about because you kind of have no choice. Depends the topic. What are you talking about? And I know that a lot of the other NFGeeks cast was really freaked out about it. They were "Whoa, what the hell are these people? They're creeping on me." I know one guy asked to get his videos taken down.
Right, freaking out.
Very strange.
Yes. And, all right, so let me add to that part of it because Podlair actually, I wasn't as freaked out because Podlair's been on my radar for a while now because I started getting, first of all, I think they might have sent me a video once a long time ago. I got a video, it may not have been them. I think it was because the title to me, it looked like a lot of consonants in a row, just like these profiles they're doing, and I thought somebody was sort of drunk texting. That happens, and it's all weird letters in a row. So I didn't even watch it. I actually deleted it, and that's the only time I ever did that on NFGeeks. Now I wish I hadn't done that. But they've been on my radar, and the reason I definitely want to do a video is that what you just said has been the consensus of people who've been talking to me about this. And I started getting emails, and all the emails started with, "Mike, there's this really creepy cult." Okay, that was the first sentence. I got one, and I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder what that's about. And then I got another, and then I got another. And then I asked around a little bit to some of my fans, have you gotten one of this? Do you know what it is? And a lot had gotten a lot of these videos. And then all of them said, "Oh my God, Mike, creepy cult." They've said the same thing. So I knew something. I said, okay, if these people have been targeted, whatever, and NFGeeks is NFGeeks, then we were doomed. You know what I mean? This is we were doomed. So I had
X
no
on the
doubt.
chest.
Yeah, absolutely. We were in the crosshairs. I knew that. So the first thing then I want to kind of talk about is because I guess because of these videos, is this, what are we dealing with here? Is this a group? Is this a club? Is this a cult? I have thoughts on this, but what are your initial sort of emotional responses?
I kind of don't really know. I don't know if it's just some guy invented his own version of a personality profile assessment thing, and he just told, and a bunch of people picked up on it and liked it, and he just told them hey, if you like it so much, go after personality stuff and critique them or assess
okay,
them.
but isn't that what we're doing too?
right. But like,
are they like us in a parallel universe?
But like the evil us.
They should all have goatees, you know,
yeah,
like from Trek, you know.
Or I don't know if they're like, if they are a group, like they get together and we're like, okay, you're gonna take this one and you're gonna take that one.
I do think
that's
what they did. I think they had like a freaking war room meeting about us. It was very strategic, and I think who they sent. I think they picked, okay, you're going to do Noah. I'm going to do Josh.
Right, because if you notice, like, there are certain ones that are, like, specialists in, like, certain kinds of people, and, like, they took that group.
Yes.
Like, it was weird.
Yes. Now, that means then you and I have to consider ourselves special, because we had, like, an audience with the Pope.
Right. We had their master, like, their leader.
Right, the top guy. I mean, we faced Mace Windu.
Literally, because he looks like him too.
Right, he's the main dude. So that was something. But yeah, it seems like they had like this big meeting, as opposed to us, where we had like instant messages for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, like whoa.
Well, did you see this? Hey guys, look what we got. It was really kind of loosey goosey. All right, so let's get back to this then. Do you think, is this a group? Is this a club? Is this a cult? Is this a troll? At first, I thought this has to be a hoax, but then I thought if this is a hoax,
they're like too passionate to be trolls. Like they're real. Like they believe what they're saying.
Yeah,
they're like, you have magic here and like rationale here and crazy stuff here and banana cakes back here. I don't know.
That's funny that you said that because I really, really try, and hopefully I'll show this in these videos. I did try to make an attempt to understand this. And my first thoughts about this thing was like, okay, maybe they're like, are they saying the frontal lobe is connected to the
sectioning the brain off or something.
Okay, wait, what are they saying? The occipital lobe and the parietal lobe are connected. Is this a lateralization of function? Then I realized, oh no, it's just like crazy.
They're just hand signs.
Yeah, it's like Freemasonry.
And and I'm just like, I watched the video. The day you posted the link, I watched the video like 2.5 times.
Really?
And I watched it today before I came here, and to really try to understand, because I don't really like to talk about things that I don't understand, because I feel like that's not fair to the topic in discussion.
Sure, that's right.
But in watching these videos, all he does is just conjunct huge words together and ramble off, so you really can't understand what he's saying or what he means, because he makes it so that way you can't.
Yeah, and that speaks to actually you touch on so many points with that, because I watched yours. First of all, I watched yours. I watched mine. But the first one I watched was Noah's, and he doesn't know anything about this, by the way. He hasn't even seen his.
Oh,
no!
Fantastic!
Oh yeah, this Thanksgiving present coming his way. He has no idea this is going on. But I did Noah's first because I thought, okay, I'm outside of Noah, and I've known Noah the best. So if this is true, or this has something, then I should be able to connect this the best to Noah, even better than to myself, because I might get all kind of, it's not me. We'll get to that in a minute. All right, so then it does feel there's a religiosity going on here, as opposed to a theoretical science.
Really?
And I have reasons for that, but meaning that this is more like Scientology than it is like the psychoanalytic society that Freud started.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to hear the thoughts on that.
Okay. Because my first thought about it was, because this is what I wanted to think about, even in terms of this video bringing you on, is like, okay, is this a cult or is this a cult? You know what I mean? Like, is this something harmful? Are we going to get, like, I don't know, to mail bombs or something over this? And I want to give them credit that I don't think that's the case. I don't think they're harmful. I don't think they're really harmful to others, and I don't think their intent is harm. Okay? It's weird, and there's something weird going on. I think everybody who got a video thinks this. Right. But I don't think it's harmful. But I don't think it's theoretical, because it has all the aspects of religion. Okay? There's this esoteric language that you have to be part of the secret club in order to get. It's almost like Gnosticism. There's the purpose is to convert. There's us, there's them. There's the right doctrine and wrong doctrine. Science doesn't talk like this. Okay? And you're dealing with religion, too, when you have this very overly complex system of words that is almost self-referential and doesn't point to anything directly that you can latch onto. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that keeps you sort of in the the whirlwind of it.
Right.
That you're believing in something or there's something there, but then there really isn't anything there because it's almost like tautological in a way, circular.
Yeah.
In a way. And so that tells me it's religious. Also, they don't respond to criticism well, like a good religious organization.
They like they say that you're toxic and poisoned or something like
yes,
that in the beginning of like every video.
And I noticed on ours we can't comment. On some of the comments are shut off. On it.
Not fair, guys.
Yeah, and that shows that there's no. They don't want to right. They're not interested in like a dialogue. You know what I mean? There's no interest in dialogue here.
They just want to tell you how you're wrong.
Yeah, really, and that you're on the wrong side, and that speaks to a religiosity and not a theory. So I'll get to the theory in a minute. All right, so let's try to like why this isn't science, but I want to kind of move on for a minute. What can we say that seems right? I have a few things, but is there anything here that's that's good that we can take out that isn't totally from outer space, that's actually do they really have something that's useful?
I think in a temporary scenario, because they do have it seems that they have very good body language reading skills.
Yes.
However, the only problem with it is it's a very short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to make it apply to someone's personality completely, which I do agree that in most senses, like the way you talk and look at people for the most part can tell you something about someone.
Mm.
However, I will also say that not everyone is as comfortable in front of this camera as me and you are.
Yeah,
so some people are nervous and don't really act the way they do all day long. And so even their interpretations of these videos may not be based on something that's correct.
That's interesting because a part of it, the overall idea I can buy into, that somehow your physical mannerisms are revealing your personality. Okay, they call it mojo.
Right.
That's I got that down, at least. But their type. That we'll use type because that's our word. They or the Myers-Briggs word. They are. That makes sense to me because I kind of try to do that just with MBTI. I can do that with NFs pretty well in terms of like what types of eyes NFs kind of have. And ENFPs have certain cheeks and things like that I notice. And even in the other types, INTJ kind of eye kind of thing. So I kind of do that too. I also do it with clothes. But mostly, and this is where you're getting at too, is that it takes me a little longer because what nails it for me before I give them any kind of inventory is that I listen for word choice, belief systems, what they believe is true. How do they assess what is true? What's their moral compass? You know what I mean? Like I listen to how they talk, and then I get there.
Right. Because what he says in his video, first off, is he says what Josh is saying is not important. Well, because he's speaking out of a lens that he believes he is, which he isn't. Well, that's not true. What I'm saying is important because that's what I mean. That's what I believe in. I mean, I've only been informed about Myers-Briggs for maybe a year or so. I speak now the way I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. My thought process hasn't changed. It's just that I'm aware of ENFJ and MBTI and what it means now, but it hasn't really affected how I present my thoughts or how I collect information or how I deem what information is important to me. So his theory on what I'm saying isn't important. That's not true.
That's interesting because that's the main tenet of what they're trying to say. What they're trying to say is that we are sort of corrupted by false memes. They use the word memes.
Yeah.
They're not talking about the internet like demotivation posters. They're talking about how culture is transferred, sort of bracketed. That's a phenomenology term.
Right.
Bracketed from one person to another and sort of spreads. And we're corrupted by this. And therefore, our assessment of ourselves is inherently wrong.
Right.
And that you have to use the facial things. Which they do apparently very quickly. So what they would say is that our language we're using even right now is completely wrong. Okay, I don't think so.
No, yeah.
But that's that is the position that they're kind of they're kind of taking. Now the other thing I think is that what the Nyy'zai, all that stuff, that this esoteric language that they have. corresponds basically, as far as I understand it, to the Myers-Briggs function. So it's weird. They're kind of dogging it, but at the same time they're borrowing from it. So, for example, what they're talking about with us is intuitive feeling. Okay, so the first part of it has to do, like the Nyy'zai, whatever, has to do with the intuitive part, and the Xai, whatever, has to do with the feeling part. So they are sort of saying we're NFs, believe it or not, with their own terms, which kind of sound like NNF, Nai, Ni. But what they've done is they've reversed which one we have in terms of introversion, extroversion. Okay, so let me explain that. I'll explain it for you. Under the Myers-Briggs system, you have introversion. You have Ni. Your intuitiveness is on the inside, and your expression of feeling, you have Fe. This is your feelings go out, and that's your strongest as an ENFJ. That's true of all the ENFJs. Okay. Now what they're saying is the reverse is true. Okay, meaning that you actually don't have an internal intuition. You have an external intuition. That one's dominant, and you have internal feeling. Okay, as less dominant, which actually would make you an INFJ if you were in the Myers-Briggs. Now the weird part is me too, as an INFJ, and Alex, and Noah,
which is
and Dave,
which is what I wanted to talk about, because anyone if you watch our videos, just watch a video with Noah in it, with Alex in it, and with me in it. And personally, I've never met Alex face to face. I've never had a conversation with him. The only thing I know about Alex is I've seen all of his videos on NFGeeks, and I know stories that you and Brad have told me about Alex.
Yeah.
And Brittany as well. The only thing that I can surmise that me and Alex share any similarity in at all is that me and him sometimes can be blunt to a fault.
Yes.
Or assholes, basically. And that's because we're both J's.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
But everything else is, I'm very loud, he isn't.
Right.
He's very technical, I'm not.
You're extroverted.
Yeah.
You're emotional.
Right.
He's not.
He's not. He's very,
Yeah, that's
so we're not the same at all, so how can we be the same in pod layer?
Right, and that's my...
And I could see if they want to say that me and you could be the same type, because we are similar in a lot of ways, but to say that, me and Noah, or you and Noah are the same type, is very, whoa.
Yeah, that...
Now you hit a home run way out of the park,
Yeah, right. Except we're playing football.
That's
the problem. We're a little off here, but not playing the same game. Right, so we'll get to Noah in part 2, because that's relevant to my interpretation. All right, so on to part 2.